Hello, it's Friday and I'm Emma from Nurturing by Nature, and I'm just going to run you through this week. Our video is going to be about Christmas because we're nearly in December. Christmas and the hazards and dangers around Christmas for your pets and things that you possibly hadn't even thought of, but they are relevant. So let me just start off by saying this weekend in our stores, we are giving you double stamps. So instead of it being Black Friday in store for us, we're going to make it a bit more colourful. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday and Monday, all of our stores are giving out double stamps. So if you happen to come in and you love your stamps, every £25 is going to give you 2 stamps instead of 1. And don't forget, 10 stamps equals £10 off your next shop. So if you can come in and support the stores this weekend, let's prove to those big giants out there that we are independent and we're giving you the double stamp. So that's why we're doing that, just so you know. So good idea if you're around this weekend, come and see us, especially on Sunday, because Sunday we are open in 3 stores. So I just wanted to put that out there so you know that's the score. Okay, we are based in Dorset, down in the oh good, I've got my hat on today. Yeah, it's a bit chilly here today. I've turned the heating off, so I thought I'll wear my hat. It's got the Nurturing by Nature and the Raw badge on it as well, so everyone knows where I'm from. So today our video is about dangers around Christmas time for your pets, because there will be a few things that you possibly hadn't thought of. We're going to start it off by talking about plants. Traditionally, you've got plants around, holly, mistletoe, poinsettias. They are quite poisonous. Poinsettia, not so much. That's more of an irritation. It's got white sap in it when you snap the leaves or the flowers, and that can be irritating for us and for our pets. But things like holly and mistletoe, they can be really quite poisonous. So you want to make sure that your dog's not going to ingest those. So if you've got decorations around the house which have got mistletoe and holly in, fresh plants from the garden or out and about, then make sure they're out of reach of your pets. So holly's pretty prickly anyway. It'd be hard for them to eat it, but some dogs will give it anything a go, won't they? So you know your pet. But yeah, holly and mistletoe, particularly more poisonous for your pets, because they have got potentially toxic substances in, especially if they eat a lot. I can't imagine many dogs will eat a lot, but you never know. So that's one thing to be aware of. What we have next is decoration. So here's a story. Fred was a lovely boxer dog. He's the guy that we started Nurturing by Nature for, and he, bless him, no ill effects from this, but he had a penchant for eating glass baubles. I think it's because they sort of popped nicely in the mouth, but he did it once, and after that we didn't risk it again. We put the glass baubles up high so he couldn't eat them, and he used to put them in his mouth and just pop them. Didn't happen very often, like I said, happened once, but it did happen. So dogs will, if they see something like that, and don't forget the colours that they see are different to the colours that we see. There's something red might not be noticeable, but yellow and blue much more interesting for them. So yes, glass decorations, definitely think about those. What else we've got? Any other decorations? Tinsel and lights. So glass lights or electrical lights that are plugged in, even the batteries. So batteries, avoid those in your dog's. Avoid the batteries for your dog because they're obviously pretty bad, but you need to keep your lights on your tree. You might even want to think about fencing off the tree or having it in a room that your dog doesn't go into as much, or when they're with you there you're supervising them, so that could be an option for you. So decoration, tinsel, decorations, tinsel, lights and ornaments can be hazardous for your pets because they might chew or swallow these items. Like I said, Fred, our boxer dog, used to love a glass bauble. He only got the opportunity to, which was rare, but it did happen. So I'm just letting you know that is something that could happen. You want to keep the glass ones higher up the tree so that your dog doesn't eat them. You might even want to consider fencing off the tree. You might want to consider putting the tree in a room that your dog's not in as often. So that could be something you think about. So that's the decoration side of things. Gift wrapping. So obviously we've got an amazing gift wrap box, which is this one here. This is the Christmas Eve box for dogs, and he's gonna fall down, isn't he? Our little pudding's going to fall down. So we wrap these minimally with hardly any like the sellotape on, really tiny amounts, and we say that you should take this off before you give it to them, because this is a plastic. It's for decoration, for look pretty for you. Dogs don't care about that. So remove things like this when you've got a dog, and then the dog can unwrap this and they can have fun. So this is one of our Christmas Eve boxes for dogs. And when you have got lots of interesting things under the tree, your dog might be really into what's going on. So just bear in mind that they could ingest some of that. They could eat the plastic on the sellotape. They could eat the paper and cardboard, and a small amount of that, tiny bits, not really going to do any harm, but you don't want them eating loads and loads of it. So because they're pretty, this is going to smell nice, it's tempting for them. So anything that you think like that, just keep an eye on them, because otherwise you're going to have a whole load of fun and rampage through on the Christmas tree and rip everything up and upset loads of people. Holiday foods over Christmas, what you need to think about with your pets. So quite a few things that we enjoy they can't have. So obviously we love a nice roast potato. You can't give raw potatoes to dogs. They could have a cooked potato as part of their Christmas dinner, but obviously it's a starchy vegetable, so no loads of potatoes. But chocolate, that's a biggie. So all those advent calendars full of chocolate and sweets, keep them out of reach for your dog, because chocolate is very poisonous for dogs. Dogs deal with it differently, different levels of this the toxin, which is theobromine. That's what the dogs can't deal with, and signs of that might be lethargy, vomiting, wobbly legs, that sort of thing. So if you think your dog has ingested chocolate at all, then you must get in touch with your veterinary practice. The darker the chocolate, the more toxic it is for your pet. So really dark chocolate, that's the worst for your pet. Whiter, lighter chocolates, not so bad. It's theobromine. That's the thing that's in the chocolates. The darker the chocolate, the higher amount of theobromine in it. That is what is bad for your dogs. Grapes are to be avoided. Raisins, avoid those. Onions, dogs don't do well on onions. Anything containing xylitol. So say, for example, Granny's come, but she has sweetener in her tea instead. Make sure she doesn't put her mug on the floor where the dog's around, because the dogs will like that, and it's really poisonous for them. And it has happened. So somebody who helps us out at Nurturing by Nature, he did have this happen to his dog, and they did have to go to the vets to get it treated. So yes, sweeteners are really bad for them. So please keep those out of reach. So just let Granny know that if she has a sweetener in her tea, make sure she doesn't put it in reach of the dog, because the dog will probably have a nice little sip, and they can be very poorly from that. So sweeteners, that's not a good thing for dogs. Cooked bones, obviously, use those cooked bones to make bone broth instead. Then you can give them to the dog within the bone broth, so you scoop all the bones out and they've got this lovely broth. Use the cooked ones to make bone broth. Just feed your dog the raw bones that they are used to having. Traveling needs to be considered. So if you happen to be out and about this Christmas with your pet and they're coming with you on your holiday celebrations with your family, please don't forget that they do need to wear a safety restraint or be safe in a vehicle. So they either need to be, if they're in the seats beside you, they need to be clipped in like this one, or they're in a cage in the back, because it is actually part of the highway code to secure your dog in the car, because if you do not, it says it could invalidate your insurance or even result in a hefty fine. I've never heard anyone getting fined for that, but after being my dad used to be in the police force. After hearing some of the stories, it's such a good idea to restrain your dog in the car in case anything horrible were to happen, they will be safe in the vehicle. And this is a seatbelt restrainer, which it's got a universal clips on it. So it's got 3 different types of clip on it. That's going to clip into the car in the seatbelt lock that it goes, or you can, and then that will be clipping onto your dog's lead or their collar or their harness, and that will keep them nice and safe in the car. So you do need to keep your dogs restrained. So if you're going on holiday over the Christmas period, bear that in mind if you happen to be traveling, because it's really important to keep them nice and safe. Right, Christmas trees. So obviously most people have got a tree or some sort of decoration in their home, and you want to avoid your dog from trashing that. It might be that you some people I've seen, they put like a little like a fire guard or a guard around the tree. That could be an option for you. I would just recommend that you supervise your pet when they're in the room and keep them out of it, because that way you know you're going to keep all the presents safe if they're under the tree. Any chocolate that happens to be in the room safe, and your dog's safe from the chocolate, and the tree in one piece. Because you know what cats and kittens can be like. Great big tree in their front room, they're up it and they're taking it over. So bit of fun, but yeah, a bit disappointing when it keeps happening over and over again. So keep them out of the room with the tree if you possibly can, unless you know your dog's an absolute angel. So yeah, you could they could fall over within the tree and then get harmed. So you don't want that to happen. Just bear in mind there's an awful lot going along. Bear in mind there's an awful lot going on at this time of year, and your pets can become stressed because of that. So just bear that in mind. Stress and anxiety could be a big thing at this time of year. Keep an eye on your cat. Make sure they're not peeing more, because they'll pee if they're stressed. You know, all that sort of thing. You've got different people in the house. That's the type of thing that could stress your dog out. So bear that in mind. Have a think about using some nice pheromones or some of the herbal remedies like the valerian products at Door West, or I don't know if I've got any in my box here, but yes, the valerian compound or the pet remedy products, just so you've got that on hand to chill them out if you need to. It's always quite good for the husband as well. What else we got? So there's stress and anxiety. You might want to create a nice safe space that your dog feels safe and happy in. Once they've said hello to everyone, they've got somewhere to go, eat their nice chew or play with their toy with you, or in their little den if you've got one for them. Cold weather. So it's not really frozen yet down in Dorset. We've had maybe a couple of light frosts, but there will be colder weather on the way, and it's a good idea to be prepared for this. So one of the things that I think is a good idea is having a pot of paw balm. So if it's really cold outside, you can protect your dog's pads by a bit of paw balm. Door West do a nice one, and basically it's just a wax or a balm that goes on the bottom of the dog's feet to help protect them from the surfaces that we're on, if it's cold, any frostbite, that sort of thing. Or even one thing that you might not be aware of, grit and salt on the pavements and roads. That's actually quite unpleasant for the dogs. It can be quite irritating. So you want to try and wash that off. And by using a balm or like a wax, you're going to protect the paws as well. So that would be a good thing if you're thinking about it. Something like that. Something that's good to have in your first aid kit, like the Lucilin, like a bandage or two. Those things like the paw balms are really good, and it's not cold enough yet, but it's going to get there. So bear it in mind. Don't get caught out. Get it before you need it if you can. So we've got wash your paws after out and about on gritted or cold roads to keep the paws and the belly area of your dog nice and clean, because you don't really want your dog to ingest the salt or the grit that's been put out on the roads to keep them nice and safe for us and our cars. And the other thing we'd be thinking about at this time of year is topping up the antifreeze in our car. Antifreeze is really awful for your pets. It can be very poisonous. When I used to work in veterinary practice, 2 or 3 times a year, you would get cats in that have licked up some of the antifreeze underneath the cars, and it's really, really bad for them. So they love it as well. They're quite attracted to it because it's sweet. It's got a sweet taste, and antifreeze often contains ethylene glycol. which is a substance. It's highly toxic and it has a sweet flavour, and the dogs and cats can find it appealing, even other animals as well, actually. But the combination of the toxicity and the fact that they really like it makes them have more of it, and it can lead to accidental poisonings if pets can find access to antifreeze. So it's worth knowing, and also letting your vet know. So if you think at all your pet has ingested any of this, you need to get them treatment straight away. It is quite serious. It can hurt them even in small amounts. So symptoms of antifreeze poisoning would be similar to what you would see in humans with alcohol intoxication, stumbling, vomiting, lethargy, and it can quickly progress to more severe symptoms, and it can lead to things like seizures and kidney failure. So you really do need to be aware of that. So if anyone in the family's the garage or doing it in the outside, put some paper, something on the floor underneath, so that if any does drip, you can scoop it up and put it in the bin out of the reach of your pets or other people's cats and dogs as well. They will do that. They will have a go. So do keep antifreeze safely stored, tightly closed in secure storage, out of the way of pets. Clean up any spills immediately. Good tip is to put the paper underneath the car before you start putting it in. Even if it's a tiny amount, it's really important to get that cleared up. Check your vehicle for leaks. Small drips from your car's radiator can attract pets, and you could consider using a pet safe product instead of it containing ethylene glycol, one that contains propylene glycol instead, because it's less toxic to pets than the ethylene. But however, if you think your pet has ingested any antifreeze, you must seek veterinary assistance immediately, because it can be very bad news for your pet. So please bear that one in mind. It is important to know that, and I think that's one of those things that people don't really consider as a danger to your pets in the winter time, because people are always topping that sort of thing up now. It's not quite cold enough, but this is the time of year we start to think about it, so do bear that in mind. I think I said about the salt and grit on the roads for your pets as well. I think we went over that, but that can cause irritation and burns on their paws. So you just need to clean their feet once they've been out when it's been really cold and you think they've been walking on that. So what have we got? You could even put boots on if you wanted to. I think that's extreme in this country, but some places, and it's really, really cold, they put a lot of it down. Regular clean your paws and underbelly of the pet, avoiding any treated areas potentially. And if you think your pet has ingested any of this and you're not happy about it, just contact your vet for help. Other things that happen around the Christmas period of time, celebration, more fireworks. So we went over fireworks the other day, didn't we? Talking about the valerian compound, talking about using Door West products, or even the Phytopet products, nice herbal remedies that help to chill out your pet, creating a nice safe area for them as well. But just don't forget about those fireworks, New Year's Eve fireworks. We forget they're coming, so bear that in mind. Get topped up and have your valerian to hand. And also the same sort of thing you can use to help your pet with guests at parties. So if you're having a party, keep your pet safe. You know your pet, you know how they're going to cope in that situation the best. But if you're at all worried about it, another thing with having a party is someone might leave the door open accidentally and your pet might get out. So just making sure that either at a friend's house or keeping them safe in a room that no one else is going into is a really good idea, because then you're going to keep them safe. Yeah, so that's it. Make sure your pet's microchipped. I think that's something that is obvious anyway, but if you are happening to think about getting a puppy, that's something that you should definitely do, because they can trace it back to you and find you if your pet goes out missing. Especially get frightened by something like the fireworks. That's definitely a point to consider. Pet safe toys is another thing. So some people will give an old child's toy to a pet, absolutely fine. You can do that, but if they've got button eyes or noses, remove them first and just sew up that patch, because like this dog here, he's got a leather nose, but he has got these button eyes. And this is a demo dog that they use for the disabled demonstrations. But these button eyes, even the really old toys used to be glass, and you don't want your dog to eat those. So most, if not all, pet toys that are specifically made for pets are going to have sewn in eyes like this, which are much safer. So yeah, that sort of thing. You want to make sure they're not going to chew these off and eat them. And if you do happen to give your old kids toys to your dog, make sure you take off the eyes and the nose and just sew them up again, because you don't want them to ingest or eat any little buttons that might be there. So yeah, choosing toys that are pet specific is a much better idea over Christmas time, because they're fun, they're Christmassy, and they sometimes squeak. This is going to squeak. Yes, this has got a squeak. You've got a cat one as well. Two little puddings together. Wow, that is strong. Fudge is going to love one of those. Forget round to bringing him home. But yeah, looking at the toys, when you've got a pet safe toy, you won't have any buttons on the eyes or the nose. So you need to make sure they're all sewn in and they're nice and safe for your pet to enjoy. And yeah, dogs will rip things up. They naturally enjoy that. So just bear that in mind. Don't get too disappointed. And take the squeaker away from them if they happen to rip it open and take the squeaker out, because that's the bit they're after, isn't it? That bit there. You could even, some people actually, one lady that came to the shop at Pamp Hill last weekend says she opens up the toys before she gives them and takes the squeaker out, and the dog doesn't destroy it quite as much. So that could be an option for you if that is the case. Yeah, so I told you about that dog that had the xylitol, and that is a true story. He did have to take him to the vet. He was lucky in finding out that the uncle's tea that he left down had the sweetener in, and they put 2 and 2 together quite quickly, so the dog did survive. But you just need to make sure that you think about these things. And this is another thing I think is a hidden danger over Christmas time. Using a sweetener in your tea and coffee, use it by all means, but keep it out of the reach of your pets. And this gentleman's uncle had a tea and it had sweetener in. The dog did drink it. It did make him poorly, went to the vets, and they treated him very quickly. So the dog actually survived. He was fine, but you do need to bear that in mind. So hopefully that's given you a few ideas over what to look out for and what to look out for your pets over the Christmas period. We've gone over plants that could be toxic. We've gone over things like the antifreeze, which is really poisonous, keeping your dog nice and calm, thinking about there might be fireworks. If you've got things that you want, if you've got something like fireworks going on and you want to keep your dog calm, there's a few ways that you can go about doing it. A British thing for a dog to have tea. No, what happened, Luke, was this gentleman's uncle came round and he has those little sweeteners in his tea, and he left the tea down by the side of a sofa, and then the dog drank it. And xylitol, which is found in most of these sweeteners, is really, really bad for the dogs, and he got quite poorly. So luckily they were able to get him to the vet in time, and they were able to treat him, and the dog was fine. But it is a definite thing to think about if you've got an aunt or an elderly uncle that's coming over. They would traditionally like to have something like those sweeteners, and those sort of things are really poisonous for dogs, so you just need to be aware of it. And that's the point I was trying to make with the tea. But yeah, I think actually some people do let their dogs have a cup of tea. And I think it's the milk. So as long as it's milky, not too teaey, it should be okay. So hopefully you've got some ideas there. Obviously, we've got our Christmas toys that we've gone over. We've got our lovely Christmas Eve box. These are selling out very quickly. We have made the second batch now. So they are on the website, but do be quick. Do be quick, because they are going to go quite quickly. There are a limited amount of these. The toys are lovely, they're nice, they're just about the right size to fit in the box. Most of them got a squeaker in, and you and your pet are going to love unwrapping that and enjoy it. So take this ribbon off and then let your pet undo it, because it should be nice and safe for them. And there's not too much in there, so they can't gorge themselves on these boxes, because and they've got a nice big cow ears in there, and they've got a rabbit strip and lots of little bits of treats that you can hear that rattle around in there. So they'll eat all of those, but there's not too much for them to gorge and make themselves poorly at once, if that makes sense. So those are our Christmas Eve boxes from Nurturing by Nature. Do have a look on our website to find those. We have got them in stores as well. So like I say, they're going quite quickly. So if you wanted one of them, please don't leave it too long. And at the beginning of the video, I mentioned in store this weekend is double points. So for every £25 you spend in store, you will get 2 stamps. Okay, and you only need 10 stamps to make up a £10 off card in store. So for every £25 you spend, you'll get 2 stamps, and that's all weekend in all of our stores. So we've got Westmore's, which is open today. It's open, so you get stamps on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we're going to continue it on Monday as well. But we're open all weekend. So the only store that's not open on a Sunday is Upton, but it is open now from 9 until 1. So we are open there a little bit longer, 9 till 1 at Upton. Other than that, Westmoors, Wimborne, Pamp Hill and Christchurch are open all weekend, and it is double points weekend because although a lot of people have got Black Friday on, it's a bit more colourful and fun to have double points instead to celebrate our customers as they come into the store. So hopefully you'll be able to join us and celebrate that with us over the weekend. Have a good one, won't you? I hope you enjoy your weekend. Have a think about those points I've raised over Christmas, because although we are in November, it's not that far away. Thinking about things like the cold weather and what we do to prepare ourselves and our cars and our homes for it, just bear in mind that some of these things can affect your pet as well. Thank you so much for joining me. Enjoy the weekend, won't you?